was a story of a very nice couple. Two people who cared for each other deeply. The problem was they were making each other miserable, and they didn't know why. Sound familiar? The fact is that often nice people in nice relationships are doing terrible things to each other. Watching this film can mean the difference between life and death for your relationship. Millions of people separate and divorce each year with great suffering to themselves and their children, when actually the relationship could be turned around in 1 hour. In this film, you will learn how to block the patterns of misunderstanding and estrangement and recover the possibility of truly loving each other. We begin our story at an Anthony Robbins conference for 4,000 participants. People are standing up and sharing some of the fears that hold them back. Paul stands up.
You're afraid?
Yes.
What are you afraid of?
A lot of things.
Okay, what are you most afraid of?
That if I leave my wife, I'll lose my identity and my self-worth, and I'll lose her love and love for myself.
You probably will. In fact, it'll be worse than that.
What do you mean?
You'll lose the identity that you have right now, that you've built not only for whatever you think you are, but you'll fire off all your fears that you failed. You will, do you have kids?
Yes.
Yes. You'll feel them hating you at times. You're going to lose a lot of money, more than you think. Let's see what else. Anybody else want to chime in here? Yes, what else? He's going to have another guy bring up his kids. He's going to fall in love with another woman and make all the same mistakes all over again.
This is my wife.
Hi. What's your name?
Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer, this is a rather uncomfortable spot to be in. Why'd you stand up? Give her a hand, first of all. Hi, great.
Because I love him, and I don't know, but I was one of those people that said I wanted to go home this morning.
I bet. I wouldn't blame you, honey. Why'd you want to leave this morning? Food was that bad last night?
Because I wanted to go home and get love from my kids.
Which, by the way, this is what most women do, by the way, is most women even marry a man that is a good man, but they're not passionately in love with, because they know they'll get that real love from their children, they believe. How many women know a woman who's done this? Let me see your hands. But the problem is then you burden those children, and eventually they do grow up, and there is a stage when you don't feel their love either.
I just feel that my love for my kids is unconditional.
I know. How old are your kids?
5 and 4.
Wait a little bit. Is your love for this man unconditional?
Yes.
Is that your experience, sir?
I've had a lot of struggles with physical attraction. I think she's got the most amazing eyes and smile I've ever seen in my life. And I tried to tell myself that physically that was all that I needed, and it wasn't.
Tony has asked Paul whether Jen's love for him is unconditional. Instead of answering the question, Paul puts the blame on himself for not being attracted to her. This is reason to suspect that there is a tacit rule in this couple that her love cannot be questioned.
And so, do you love this woman?
I love her deeply, yes.
How deeply? You really need to be honest right now, to be fair to her and you and everybody else in this room. So I'm going to ask you to not give me the answer that just shows up right away. I want you to really feel in your soul, what's real. I do believe you love her, by the way, but I just want you to really, really answer honestly. Is that fair?
Yes. I don't feel that she was the person I was meant to be with for the rest of my life.
And how many years have you guys been married?
9.
9. And so now you've discussed leaving?
Yes.
How long has that been discussion going on?
2 years now.
And you want to leave?
I want to be free of the pain on both sides. Because there's pain in leaving, and there's pain in staying.
I see. So you've just stayed where you are?
That's where I've been, and I'm sick. I'm fed up with feeling this way. It's unfair to her. It's unfair to me.
I see. So you basically believe you know what's right, but have not had the guts to do something.
You got it.
On the one hand, Paul feels the need to leave the relationship. On the other hand, he still wants his wife's love and respect. There is something strange about this reasoning. Tony knows there must be something else.
Is it just her physical appearance?
No.
Okay. Because I want to get that out because every woman in this room has stopped breathing. And any man with a heart has done the same. Because this dynamic of, how many of you in your first impression of this man, is it Paul?
Yes.
Yeah, Paul. How many of your first impression of Paul was a man with a big heart? Let me see your hands if that was your first impression of him. How many of you, when he talked about loving his wife, but having this thing about the visual, tightened? Now, your first impressions are usually accurate when you're not from a judgmental place, when you're in your heart, and you didn't have a judgment to start with. So my bet is your first judgment was accurate. The second one tightens all of us because we all are afraid of not being enough, and so we all put ourselves in her, if we have a heart and if you care, we all put ourselves in her shoes, whether a male or a female, and go, we've all felt unwanted over something that seemed unfair with somebody else we loved. On the other hand, there's another possibility here too. And the possibility is that his description visually is an anchor to other things as well, that are deeper and harder for him to articulate. So what besides the visual, because you said there is some other things, is that not true?
Yes. And I don't want this to be a bashing session.
No, I don't want it to be a bashing session. I want just honesty. Because I'm going to ask her the same thing, because if she's honest, she'll tell me some things about you, and this is not you about her.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe to make it fair, tell me the things you do love about this woman that you think are immeasurably beautiful. And don't use fluff and don't bullshit her or us.
Okay. I think that the fact that she keeps loving, regardless, shows how much of a quality person she is. I was attracted to how quality she was. I've never seen anyone love and support more people that she loves. She overdoes.
Why does it overdoes?
I mean, she tries to sacrifice what's important to her just so someone else can experience something good. So I guess her generosity.
Okay.
It is still difficult to understand why Paul wants to leave someone he would praise this highly. What is he leaving out?
What else do you love about her?
Her sense of humor.
Thank God she's there to cue your ass.
And
Jennifer, can we just acknowledge it? What a courageous and beautiful woman you are.
Tony honors Jen for using humor to break up the miserable emotional pattern Paul and she were in. Her ability to shift the tone of the conversation is probably one of the things that has kept them together.
I say that because to be in the midst of this situation and for you to be able to break his pattern and yours, I honor your courage not only in standing up, but the way you're here with us right now. It moves me.
Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
She's got balls. I love that she's got balls. I love that she's strong.
Finally, we understand Paul's problem. Could it be that since Jen has the balls, Paul doesn't feel like a man in the relationship?
Now let's look at another dynamic, shall we? Jennifer has a very strong feminine part of her, but because she's been so hurt, the masculine part of her has become dominant. Which, by the way, he's helped because he's been such a pussy.
I'm not coming up on stage to do that. So forget it.
In a previous intervention, Tony had asked a woman to find her femininity by dancing on stage. Jen doesn't want to do that.
My sister's here.
Oh, you want her to do it first?
Yeah. She's right over there.
Now we know what Jen does when she's under pressure. She calls her sister. What do you do when you're under pressure? Who do you call?
Can I ask you a question?
She's gonna kill me, Tony.
What's your name, sissy?
Janet.
Janet, are you still breathing?
Yeah.
Are you the older sister or the younger sister?
I'm the older one, even though I feel like she's my older sister.
Yeah. Why do you always feel like she's your older sister, even though you're the older one?
I look up to her.
And why do you look up to her?
She's just a great person.
And you're not?
Oh, no, I'm very confident. I think I am a great person. I know I am.
That's good. But she's a great person in what way?
In
She's
every
strong.
way. She's very strong. And I feel bad for her right now.
I bet you do.
I have such a great marriage and I love my husband so much and I almost feel guilty that everything's so great. I want it to be great for her too.
So do you mute your own relationship when you talk to her?
Sometimes.
Yeah. So that means you guys don't have to have the same level of intimacy even though you love each other because you're not being totally truthful.
It's not that I'm not truthful, it's that I just don't share everything.
Just so guys remember this, that's called not being truthful.
I'm so happy with who I am and who I am with my husband.
Yes.
And I want her to have that too.
Yes. Why do you think she doesn't have that? Tell us honestly, and please, love her enough to tell us honestly what you really think.
I think that she would feel better about herself if she was thinner. And I think that if she was, she would tell him to go fuck himself. But I also want to say that I love Paul, but when he's not nice to her, I want to smash him.
When he's what?
When he's not nice to her. But that's how I am with my entire family, from my husband to everybody. If you're mean to them, I'll rip your eyes out.
So you think if she took care of herself, regardless of him, she'd feel better about herself? If she felt better about herself, she wouldn't put up with the shit?
Yes.
Okay. Why else do you think her relationship's not where she wants it to be?
For me, the thing that I have with my husband is we're honest with each other, and I tell him, listen, I'm not putting up with this shit.
That's right.
And I think that she needs to do that, but she's afraid that if she tells him how she really feels, that he'll leave her.
Right.
And she's afraid to be alone.
Yes. And when you tell your husband you're not going to put up with this shit, How does your husband respond?
I can't think of anyone greater. We're just the best of friends. And he respects that about me.
He respects that.
Yes.
Tony, he's here too. You could always bring
He's here
him.
too?
Oh, yeah.
According to the sister, Paul takes power in the relationship by threatening to leave, which results in Jen feeling unable to express herself to him. Thus, she goes to find connection with others, her kids, family, and food.
How you doing, Brian?
This is a surprise.
Now, what would you say is the challenge for these two? Because you know them too, I understand. Is that right?
I do, and I love them both very
That's
much.
good. Well, the two of you love them both, so what would you say is the problem?
I think they lack communication.
In
In
what way?
I think that they're caught up in their lives and their problems, and their focused. You feel what you focus on, so they're focused on the problems. They can never find the solution.
Very nice. Give him a hand. Very nice. And what's the problem that they focus on, since you know them?
Finances. Time.
Tell me about the finances.
I don't know. I try not to know about them because I try to mind my own business. My wife, she says, mind your own business and keep your nose out of it. So regarding their finances, I don't know. You can ask them.
Okay, but now that you've appeased your wife, tell me what you know.
I believe that Paul doesn't feel significance and love because Jennifer gets help from her family. And when she gets help from her family, it makes Paul feel less significant, less of a man.
You mean financial help from the family?
Right.
So she gets help financially from her family, and he feels displaced in that area. By the way, look at his head right now as it's going. You know, no one's looking at him, and his head's going like this. So you hit the spot on in there. Okay, continue.
I also think that Jennifer has such great love for her children, her sister, and her family that Paul feels 5th, 6th, or 7th place.
Okay. Now Paul is, instead of nodding his head, he's starting to cry. So what appeared to be the problem is not the problem, at least from one person's perception. It's so easy to generalize, isn't it, my friends? But then you never get to what's really going on. Whenever people stand up and they tell me what the problem is, I immediately go, okay, let's figure out what the real problem is. Because the presenting problem is almost never the problem. Those are very insightful. Any feedback from her side or the point of view of what you see on her side?
Be careful, Brian. Just because he'll have to deal with my sister if he says anything bad about me.
So that was a supportive comment.
Exactly.
Trying to protect him. I see. I'm sure he can make his own decisions. He seems to be wearing his balls today. And from her point of view, from what you see, if you were looking at her point of view from the outside, you're not in her, obviously.
Paul buries himself in his work because why go home when your wife loves everybody more than you, or at least that's the perception. I know she loves her husband very much, but the perception through actions is that my mother.
I want you to watch right now what's happening with these two. Don't, as you listen to him, you can watch these two, and boy, are you getting some body language here. He's holding back, trying not to cry, and her arms are about as tight as she can be, and she's doing his bounce. She's riding a horse. She warned him about his sister, but I don't know if that's what she was really doing. Okay, continue, please. This is very fascinating.
Another observation that I have is that before they had children, Jennifer worked and Paul worked. And when they had their children, a decision was made that Jennifer was going to be full-time mom. And when you have one child and then very immediately after another child, chaos breaks through if you're not financially, emotionally prepared for all that. So the decision was made for Jennifer to be full-time mom, and Paul has some strong feelings about her being full-time mom in my opinion.
What do you think those are?
That she can be a great mom, a loving wife, and contribute to the support financially of our household.
Why do you think that's important to him?
So the burden is not all on his shoulders.
I see. Anything else you can give us as an insight? It's been extraordinary. So you don't have to have anything else. It's extraordinarily valuable.
This is what happens when you ask different people for their opinion. You get a totally different point of view. Where Jen's sister had seen Paul as powerful because he threatened to leave, Brian sees Jen as powerful because of her family and her money.
Let me just come back to Sissy. Anything you'd like to add or subtract or disagree with him on, from your perceptions?
No.
What do you agree with him on? I mean, now that your nose is in it.
I definitely agree with everything that he said.
Everything he said?
Yes.
Okay, so you agree that finances are a big focus for them?
I would say it's such a focus, they just can't get out of their way with it. And I think that if they just would focus on how they can get themselves out of it instead of feeling it so much every day, think of solutions and remember why they're together in the first place. I feel that if you're married, you fight to keep that. There's a reason, whether or not you think that she's your soulmate or not, God brought you to her. And you're lucky to have her. But I also think that she's lucky to have you too, Paul. I love you, and I know that was your question too.
When you look at the two of them, and they're so caught up in the finances, that's not all they're caught up in anymore, though, is it?
No, I think that men are physical, and I think that's one of the things that maybe Paul is caught up in, but I think that a woman's beauty is inside. And that's why you love her anyway, is because of what she is inside. If she lost 50 pounds, she'd still be the same person inside.
Can I ask you a question? Why aren't you the same size as your sister?
Because I was heavy as a child, and it was so much pain for me that I made a decision that I will never be heavy.
You get that certainty in her body, by the way? And how does your sister use food?
I think as like a connection and a love.
Mm-hmm.
I still am I love food.
Yes.
But there's a place that I get to where if I gain like a couple of pounds, that's it.
Period.
Yeah.
And why does she let hers continue?
I can't answer for her. I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't, maybe a protection thing, or maybe it's her connection, that's her way of getting love. It's always there, it's certain, and it gives her that immediate comfort.
If you were going to give them advice right now, what would you tell them to do after all this discussion?
To don't give up. You have two beautiful children and you really love each other.
When a couple is in conflict, they typically feel uncertain and insignificant in relation to each other. So they seek to meet these needs outside of the marriage, with the consequence that the relationship is weakened. Jen tries to derive certainty from her family and children, and Paul derives significance from the threat of leaving the marriage. These resources are weapons that they use against each other. Tony must get them to lay down their weapons so that they can get from each other the love that they really crave.
So, did you guys talk during the break? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Yes.
Until he went to pee.
Okay, good.
Kind of too much information, sorry.
Jen has just revealed one of her weapons, her biting sense of humor. By mentioning Paul's bodily functions in public, she puts him down. This is also her way of telling Tony that it was Paul who broke off the conversation between them.
So tell me now, what did you talk about?
I'm going to talk for him. He basically said that people were saying don't give up, and he said that he wouldn't be standing here if he was giving up.
Why did you talk for him?
Because I have the balls. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because it takes no balls to stand in front of 2,000 people and air
It's
your
4,000. It's 4,000. I don't know.
Well, yes, you do know. Tell me why. This is not the first time you've spoken for him, is it?
No.
By the way, look at him. He strapped his balls back on for a few minutes there.
Jen's humor damages their marriage when it puts Paul down. On the other hand, we have seen that Jen's jokes also keep them together when her humor interrupts Paul's anger or sadness. Her jokes also serve as an outlet when he will not let her express herself directly. Many women are more verbal than their husbands, who might react with anger or by stonewalling. Jen's challenge will be to find new ways to interrupt Paul's patterns without making him feel emasculated. Tony will not let Jen off the hook and will confront her until she understands how and why she overcomes her husband in conversation.
So this is not the first time you've done this, is it?
Okay, it's the second time.
Okay. You mean today?
No.
Or in the last hour?
Very funny.
Oh, I see. It's funny if you say it, but not if somebody else does.
Bingo.
So this is not just a pattern in the moment.
Yes, it is. No, it isn't. I'm lying.
Oh, really?
Jen has demonstrated that she tends to dominate conversations with Paul. This means that any change that Paul might make here will later undergo Jen's judgment and criticism. In order to create a lasting change in the couple, Tony will work most directly with Jen. Paul will transform indirectly by witnessing Jen.
So why do you speak for him? Why do you decide what's funny and what's not?
I don't know. Oh, and if I did know, I still wouldn't know.
But you're the one who always knows because you speak for everyone, so speak.
I don't speak for everyone.
Just for him?
No, I speak for myself, too.
Oh, so you speak for him and yourself. That's good. I believe you speak for yourself, too. Why do you speak for him? Why didn't you just let him share what he wanted to share?
Because I didn't know whether he'd be able to do it without getting jammed up.
So you went ahead and just did it for him.
Right.
And so how emasculated do you think he would feel living with someone who doesn't think he has the balls to do anything after he just stood up in front of the whole room, as he pointed out right after you said it?
Right.
How emasculated do you think that would make a man feel like you perceived him as being your man?
Can I say something?
Sure. I was asking a question, though.
Why did I speak for him? Is
No.
that still the one?
Were you not listening?
No, I wasn't. Not right now.
Is that a pattern as well?
No, that's his pattern.
Are you sure?
Definitely. I'm certain.
Is it yours as well?
No, I always listen.
Really, what did I just say?
When?
Just a moment ago. Don't stall for time. Tell me what I said.
That's what I always say.
You always
to him.
listen. Tell me what I said. You won't get by with this shit.
Why was I afraid that he was going to get upset?
Pardon me?
Why was I afraid that he was going to get upset?
That's not what I asked. You obviously weren't listening.
Okay, so this was the one time I wasn't listening.
I'm glad we have a morning of firsts. You can act the shit with me, but you won't get the shit with me. You can leave the conversation with me. You can choose to do that because you can't deal with it, or you can talk to me. But you can't talk to me and bullshit me. I'm not your little pussy man next to you.
My man's not a pussy.
You can slap around and you can dominate until the point that he finally gets pissed enough that he does something. I'm not that man.
Neither is he.
Boy, you seem to know a lot about him. So you don't listen. You decide what's going to be shared. You decide what it's going to be. You anticipate how it's going to be. And you work incredibly hard to control your world for one reason. You're scared shitless and you're driven by certainty and comfort. And so you go to where the comfort is available. It's why you go to your sister. It's why you go to your children. It's why you go to food. And it's why you go to humor, because you have a good sense of it, which I honored earlier and still do honor, but you use it as a weapon sometimes as much as a gift. True or false?
True.
Jen uses humor as a weapon against Paul because she is not getting from him the certainty and comfort that she needs. In asking her to lay down her weapon, Tony must show her what she will gain from doing so. This is step 3, understanding what needs are not being met.
Well, I've seen you make a slight shift. If you continue that direction, I think you'll get what you came here for, which is clarity, and maybe a chance to not be so fearful, and maybe a chance to have the love that's so tight inside of you right now, being protected, be able to flow. But what it requires, just dirt level honesty with you, because I'm nobody. I'm going to leave here. You can make fun of me, but you got to live with your life. So I appreciate and respect you going in this direction. You know I respect and honor you. I did it with tears in my eyes when we started this. That hasn't changed. I don't honor you when you're being disingenuous, because that's not you. But what he gave you was, you felt certain he was a man who would love you and that you could love. Is that fair to say when you got married?
Yes.
Okay. But that had a lot to do with comfort. True or false?
True.
Your sissy over here looks up to you and loves you, but she doesn't live her life for comfort. She's got standards, doesn't she? And there's a must in her life. Must for herself, must for a relationship. Honesty's a must. That isn't comfortable shit. And she's not perfect. I'm not. You're not. Nobody is. But she's got high standards in those areas. And because she has high standards, she has high rewards.
We are all driven by the need to fulfill 6 basic human needs. These are not just desires or wants, but profound needs which serve as the basis of every choice we make. The first need is for certainty that we can be comfortable, a secure environment, consistency in our relationships. Once we have met our basic need for certainty, however, our second need is for uncertainty, for variety and the challenges which will exercise our emotional and physical range. The third need is for significance. Every person needs to feel important, needed, wanted, and worthy of love. The fourth need is for the experience of love and connection. Everyone needs connection with other human beings, and everyone strives for and hopes for love. The fifth need is for growth. When we stop growing, we die. We need to constantly develop emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. The sixth need is for contribution, to go beyond our own needs and give to others. Although everyone must regularly meet the first four needs, most people value two needs above all. These two primary needs are the driving force behind a person's behavior.
What would you say of the 6 human needs are the top 2 for her? Because you know her very well.
Love and connection.
That's one. And what's number 2 for her?
Security, probably.
Certainty?
Certainty.
Right. Okay. And do you agree with that? Yes, she does. And what do you think of in the top 2 for you if you were brutally honest with yourself?
Probably the same. Love and connection and certainty.
In that order?
No, certainty first.
That's correct. That little shift, does that sound like a little shift? That's a shift of a different world. One is a world where love flows, and the way she gets her certainty is the next thing. She has different rules for certainty than you do. What would you say would be different? For her to have certainty, what does she got to do? For you to have certainty and comfort, what do you got to do?
For me to have certainty, I need to know that I'm loved.
Yes. How else? What else has to happen for you to feel certainty? So you can be comfortable.
That I am secure.
Okay, how else do you go? What do you mean by secure? You mean financially secure?
Yeah,
Okay, which currently you're not.
absolutely not.
So you're living a life where the most important thing to you in life is not being met and you have uncertainty about it.
Correct.
When you're uncertain, how much love flows out of you? Tell me the truth.
Not a lot.
When she's uncertain, love still flows out of her because it's first. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I agree.
That's the difference in her relationship and yours. Now, there are other factors, don't get me wrong. That's the number one, and nothing is more important than that factor.
Than me being certain?
In your life currently, in your current model of the world, the answer is yes. Nothing is more important. The closest thing is love. And they're really close, so it's hard to say that, right? Because you really want love, but you don't let it be unless you have certainty.
Like, I feel like they're equal. Like, certainty and love are like, it's hard to choose which one I would put first.
I know, but if you had to look operationally, even though you want love more, you don't allow yourself to feel it unless there's certainty. You don't allow it to flow unless there's certainty. When you're uncertain, everything in your world disappears.
When certainty is valued over all else, it is difficult to focus on other needs that lead to fulfillment, such as love, growth, and contribution. Robbins points out that when Jen cannot feel certain, everything else disappears, including her other needs. If Jen decides to value love over certainty, she will be more capable of keeping her connection with Paul as they work on their financial situation.
I've not felt certain about his love for me in our relationship, and so that's been what I've been trying to get.
I understand. But even before that, honestly, hasn't certainty been the driving force? But even as much as they're equal, if you're uncertain, you have a hard time expressing anything, even thinking about anything else.
Yes.
So the first thing I want you to get is what you're needing most is something that has nothing to do with love, and yet you're needing it before you let yourself be able to embrace all of your love. And I'm not making it wrong, I'm just saying that's the way you've wired yourself up until now, and it's before you met him.
Because I have so much uncertainty in my life, in every aspect of my life,
Yes.
that I feel like I just am looking for certainty somewhere,
I understand.
you know?
But there are people that live with equal levels of uncertainty or more, and certainty is still not their most valuable piece. It's not based on your life conditions. It's based on the way you've wired yourself up until now. and your sissy here, and you share almost the same values, but just by changing the sequence, it's like if you're making a phone call and you know the right numbers and you put them in the wrong order, you think you're calling Florida and you end up in Africa just by changing one number in the sequence. Same numbers, different sequence, different world. Okay?
In order to get a well-rounded picture of Jen's life, Tony will ask her to assess how she meets all of her 6 needs. This kind of assessment is useful for evaluating what point you are at in your life.
So, if I asked you on a 0 to 10, how much certainty you're really feeling in your life right now, 10 being absolute total certainty, and there is minus categories, where would you say you are right now in your life, honestly?
Maybe a 2.
Okay. And what do you need to at least be comfortable even on a 0 to 10 scale?
Probably a 7.
So you're light years from where you need to be.
Yep. I mean, there are certain things in my life that I'm absolutely certain about.
I'm sure. And you go to those things when you need to get stable datum, don't you?
Right.
One of those is that your kids will love you.
Absolutely.
And how certain are you that on a 0 to 10 scale?
100.
100. How significant do you feel to your kids?
Pretty significant, although, yeah, pretty significant.
0 to 10, what would you give it?
Probably an 8.
8. And how much growth is involved in raising your kids?
A lot.
0 to 10, what would you give it?
Probably a 9.
Okay, and how much contribution did you say you feel, 0 to 10, to your kids?
To my kids?
Yeah.
Like a 9.
Yeah, 9. Okay. So you got one that meets all of her needs at 9s and 10s, and then another one, of course, is your family, right? Isn't that another source for you?
Yes.
Of certainty and love?
Absolutely.
Okay, and how much certainty do you have that your family is going to love you, 0 to 10?
100.
And how significant do you feel you are to your family, 0 to 10?
Probably an 8.
An 8. And how much love do you feel from your family, 0 to 10?
10.
And how much variety is there in your family in terms of stimulation, conversation, ideas, feelings?
7.
And how much growth comes from interacting with your family?
It depends on who I'm interacting with.
Okay, I won't go into that one right now. That opens up a whole nother conversation, doesn't
Exactly.
it? You're talking about your father?
No, I lost my father.
Okay, that's okay.
A year ago this week.
More uncertainty, huh? Closer to your father or your mother?
Definitely my father.
Strong man?
Yes.
Man who you got his respect by being strong?
Yes.
But he gave you more than crumbs or crumbs?
Oh, he gave me absolutely everything.
Yeah, you were his little baby girl.
Definitely.
His strong little baby girl.
Yeah.
Talked about it a lot.
All the time.
What did he say about you?
That I was perfect.
That bastard told her he was perfect. But she was perfect because she played the perfect role as a man. And now she's in the midst of wondering why she's losing her husband and having to get all her love from her kids and her family.
I kind of feel like I play that role for my mother now.
That you're now the man in the family for the mother?
Sort of.
So I'm sorry to hear about your father's passing.
Thank you.
By the way, when you shared that, how many saw a little girl come out for a few moments? Raise your hand. And what happened the minute the little girl came out? Who saw what the man next to her did? What did he immediately do? If you watched his face, he didn't do it because he's supposed to. How many saw that? He did it because he felt her needing him. And he reached over and grabbed her and pulled her close.
Now that Jen has laid down her weapons and showed honesty, openness, and vulnerability about her needs, Paul naturally comes to help her. So far, we have learned that Paul is not providing Jen with her number one need for certainty. Jen is not providing Paul with the significance and connection which comes from being valued as a husband. Since they were not meeting these needs through each other, they had to find other ways of meeting them. Jen gets certainty from her family, her kids, and her family's money. Paul gets significance from being slim where she is not, from burying himself in work, and from flaunting his threat of leaving the marriage. The question is, when both partners are getting their needs met externally, who are they to each other? It is very difficult to sustain love for your spouse when your basic needs are met elsewhere. In order to save the marriage, Tony will block Jen from her usual sources of certainty and Paul from his usual sources of significance, and he will lead them both to where they will be satisfying each other's most important needs.
What does your husband call you?
In front of me? Hun?
Hun?
Yep.
Does he have any nicknames based on your first name he ever uses, or is it always Hun? Or does he call you your first name ever? How does he call
He
you?
calls me Jen.
So you take it as being loved and not having to do anything to be loved, or you take it? We all should know in relationships that words create a change in biochemistry, a change in focus. It's very nice to know the words, because for everyone, different words mean different things.
Now Tony is defining for Paul what Jen needs in order to feel loved. One thing she needs has to do with choice of words, to be called sweetie. Ask yourself, what has to happen for you to feel loved? Do you respond better to words, to touch, to visual cues or gifts? Do you know what your partner needs in order to feel loved? How often do you give it?
So when he says to you, sweetie, what happens inside your heart?
Feels warm.
Do you feel like telling him what he's thinking at that time?
Do I feel like telling him what he's thinking?
Yeah.
No.
No. I didn't think so.
Tony shows Paul that when Jen feels loved, she has no need to use her weapons. Tony has discovered something that Jen does when she is open to her husband. She laughs. Tony will cultivate her ability to laugh.
Even you laugh different, don't you? Look at that little laugh. That's a very sweet laugh. Ever hear Betty Rebel laugh? That's very nice.
One thing I got yesterday was when you were talking about masculine and feminine.
Yes.
I think my family perceives me that way as well,
Yes.
because it's always like if there's something heavy to lift or some, it's like, oh, don't have Janet do it, have Jennifer do it, like, and I feel like well, look at her. I mean, I feel like I kind of like need to keep up that role, like.
Thank you. Thank you.
Know?
How many of us heard that?
But I don't want that, like I said to him last night, everybody, like I have this masculine thing,
Yeah.
which, whatever.
No, the whatever's going back to the masculine. Stay sweetie for a moment, because that's the real you. How many gotten to see the real her right here? It's beautiful, it's loving, it's still strong, but it's not driven by trying to be strong. It's not controlling, it's flowing, right?
Yeah, and I said I may not, always dress like sparkly and, whatever, but I always try and, well, my makeup's screwed up now, but I always try and have my makeup on nice and do my hair and always look presentable,
No, honey, it's nothing to do with the way you use your makeup. You know what it is? It has to do with your smile. It has to do with what pops in your eyes. It has to do when you're breathing freely. It has to do with your mood. It has nothing to do with your makeup. It's that little smile you have. Look at that smile right there. That's the smile.
Tony is indirectly motivating Jen to take better care of her body and to cultivate her beauty.
That sarcastic, let's be in your face, your mama thing you tried to do with me earlier, you'd never try it with your father.
I did.
You? Pardon me?
Yeah, I did.
Did you? Did it work?
When I was 16, I told them to fuck off, but I turned around and ran out of the house, so I don't really know.
That was a good move. That was a good move. Look at that little smile there. Look at that smile. How many see a girl right now? Raise your hand to see this girl right now.
Tony has managed to connect her to her femininity through a happy memory of her father.
How many are seeing a very different thing than you were seeing when they first stood up and started talking? How many are seeing a completely different thing? So first of all, I want to thank you for entering your feminine. It's beautiful you've been able to do this in this environment. That means you're feeling a little bit of safety. Is that true?
Yes.
When did you start feeling safe with me in this conversation?
When I started trying to fuck around with you?
Yeah. And you didn't go anywhere, but you still felt that I cared.
Yeah. Well, I've always known you cared.
But it was good to test it one more time. So you tested and I passed the test.
Right.
For now. I know you'll test me again later, but for now. And so when you've tested him, what's happened that's disappointed you? Because it's important he knows this, honey.
When I've tested him in what way?
You know what way.
For loving me? Sometimes I got love and sometimes I didn't.
Right. And when you didn't, it scared the shit out of you.
Yes.
And so you got real feminine or you got real masculine in response to that?
Probably masculine.
And what'd you do when you got in that masculine?
I got defensive.
And which you have every right to be. I'm not making that wrong, but let's just see what that does so we know, okay? And then when you got defensive, what'd you do in that state?
Pulled away.
Yeah. And then when you pulled away, what happened?
I didn't get love.
I'm sorry?
I didn't get love.
But what else happened? What happened on the other side?
He pulled away too.
Even more so. Go ahead.
Well, there have been times when he's been pulling away and I've continued to give him love even though he has pulled away.
Yes, I believe that's true. I believe that's totally true. In fact, that's one of the reasons he's still with you.
Right.
Because he knows there are times that in his mind he didn't deserve love and you still gave it to him.
Right.
His head's moving up and down, by the way, right now. And that's what a mom does.
Right.
She gives love even when the kid doesn't deserve it.
Right. Well, he had actually four of them because he has a mother and three sisters. He didn't have a father growing up.
Okay. Now I understand a lot more. And so every man does want a mom every now and then, but he doesn't want to live with her reprimanding him all day.
Right.
He wants an unconditional love that most men have never felt from anybody but their mother. The interesting thing is women will give to their children unconditionally, but rarely to their man because they believe their kids will always be there, but their man won't. If they love their man, they love the way they love their children, they'd have the same ongoing unconditional love, but few women ever consider that. Because if you do that, you're going to get hurt probably. They forget that their children are going to hurt them as well. I mean, at some stage of life when they feel the weakest, not this stage, but when they're older and they feel have nothing to live for but their children, they may not be there for them. And then they feel life has cheated them completely when really they cheated themselves by realizing that the only time you have pain, I told you yesterday, is when you withhold your gift. When you gave love to him, even though he wasn't giving it, you were being who you were made to be. Not a mom, a spirit, a soul, the beauty that you are, a sweetie. Because that little sweetie just gave love no matter what, right?
Right.
She didn't give love because she had a game plan for how much am I getting back with a scorecard. And she didn't give love to say, well, gosh, I love that person, and are they going to come back to me now and do it? She just gave love because it's who she was, because she just radiated it.
Right.
That's, by the way, what's kept him. In fact, I think that's the part that f***s up his head. Because what he also remembers at the times is when you pulled away and taken away love, and that's what scares the shit out of him. So when it gets too overwhelming and complex and he doesn't feel like a man, I can promise you, he's going to try to feel like a man by taking control. And the only way he could take control in his mind is to leave you. You know, he's got to live with somebody who's got so many stacked hurts that there isn't total trust. Maybe I should just start fresh so we're both out of pain. Look at his head. Everybody see that?
Once Jen really feels her experience of lack of love, Tony builds a bridge between her loss of love and Paul's loss of love so that she understands his needs. Now he will explain how Paul feels when he loses love.
He just wants to get back to a place where there's love. He doesn't want to hurt you. He doesn't want to be hurt. And he's thinking he doesn't believe he can succeed in making you happy anymore. I see both your heads nodding. And for all women in this room, if you want to know what a man lives for instead of what you think he lives for, it isn't sex, although he certainly lives for that too. What he lives for is to make his woman happy. Because when he does that, he feels successful.
Tony is showing Jen that being happy would be a great source of certainty and significance.
If he takes you to a movie, you love the movie. He goes, I brought her to that movie. He gets to get credit inside. I did good. Men will do anything to do good for their woman, but when they feel they can't succeed in making them happy, they will leave. If they don't leave physically, they'll leave for their work, or they have an affair.
Tony is showing Jen that Paul threatens to leave the marriage because she doesn't appreciate his love. Now we understand why, when Paul first stood up, he said he both wanted to leave her, yet was afraid of losing her love. The idea of not being loved and appreciated by her puts him in such despair that he can't tolerate staying in the relationship.
In any relationship, by the way, when somebody believes that their partner believes someone or something else is more important than they are, trouble is ready to brew. Something or someone, work or someone, children, sisters, another woman, business, sport, buddies.
I definitely can see how he might think that about my sister.
Yeah.
Because beside him, she's it for me.
I know. And your children.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I can see how he would feel that way. Because what I haven't gotten from her, or from him, she's given to me.
Right. And what has he given that she hasn't given you?
Well, he's been here for me. I believe that he loves me in his soul.
She loves you in her soul, too.
Oh, I know. I definitely know that.
And she's been there for you. What has he given you that she hasn't? What can he give you that she can never give you?
Love and connection, certainty.
No.
I don't know.
How many of you see where the problem is now? Raise your hand.
And I see that that's a problem.
It's more than a problem. If you could be in his body right now, feeling what he's feeling and how long it takes you to figure out what it is that he can give you that she can't, then all it does is reinforce his deepest fear that he isn't the most important thing in your life, which is why he'd want to go somewhere else even though he loves you. He loves you. He just can't live feeling like he's not the most important thing to you, which that man in the back even figured out, looking from the outside.
So I need to change that.
This is the first time that Jen has accepted that she has to change. By doing so, she has to put up a barrier from her usual sources of certainty and to focus on meeting Paul's needs rather than being concerned just about her own.
To change that, you'd have to notice something that you have not noticed. In a relationship, what makes a relationship work is having things in common, right? That's what makes you comfortable. That gives you your certainty. What makes a relationship passionate is differences.
Tony is beginning to address the issue of the lack of passion in the relationship. Jen takes the conversation back to her need for feeling loved.
I know that I think that, like, other than my sister, the only other person that made me feel really great was my dad. And I think since I've lost him, I feel like, she's my most certainty.
Right, so here's what's happened, honey. You've gone to where certain love was, so you had to settle for a love that wasn't passionate. I saw your whole body how many saw her body? Did you see it? It was like you fell off balance when I said it. Did you feel that?
Yes.
And you also just started leaning against him. Can you feel that?
Yes.
I wonder what that's about. So you have an incredible friendship and respect with your sister. You both see qualities in each other that you respect and love. But what you'll never get from your sister is intimacy. I'm talking about sensual intimacy. I'm talking about a place where every part of you was really free. You haven't been free, that's why you've hung on to certainty, because you think certainty is the best you can settle for. When absolute freedom is what you yearn for, but probably forgotten because you haven't experienced it in so long. The man standing next to you, all he knows is that for years, he's not your father, he's not your sister, he's not the kids. He's not enough financially, which is what you need for your need to be met up here. And on top of that, you pull love away, but you give it to him too, like he's never had from anybody probably, maybe his own mom or something if he's lucky. So there's a push-pull, and he does love you. But I have no balls, I am no man, I live in reaction, I'm not enough. I need to go someplace where I'm enough. And plus, look at her. She's gotten fatter and fatter, and I'm visually stimulated, and I'm a man, and he will be stimulated anyway, because he doesn't feel enough with you. He doesn't feel important enough with you. I'm only telling you one side, because I know the same is true with you in a different way. You don't feel like you're enough because of things that he's done. I know this is not a one-sided piece. I want you to know that. I'm starting with you because he has the illusion, and you've had the illusion that he has power in this situation.
Right.
And I want you to know it's not true. You've always had the power because he's given it to you. And what he's attempting to do is take some of it back. And that's scary because you think that some of it back means losing certainty, and it does.
In our culture, when one of the spouses has excessive power over the other, the marriage is not sustainable. Because Jen derives so much power from her family, Paul sought to balance the power in the relationship with the threat of abandonment. How is your extended family involved in your relationships? Does this create a sense of inequality? If so, what happens in the relationship to counterbalance that?
It means losing the thing you valued most. But if you could lose it and go into love first, you'd own this man's soul. If you could go back to loving him, he's You look at his face, grinning from ear to ear. He knows it.
Tony gives Jen another better way to gain power over Paul by giving him love.
Let me explain something to you. Whenever I meet couples and they come and tell me, I gave him everything, which is what you would have told me if we were sitting down in a session, or he'd say, I gave her everything, and everything else is more important than me. I would say, you each gave everybody everything except what they needed. And if I were to ask your most important need, you said it's certainty, and it's at a 2. Okay? Your father's part of that. But your father needed to pass at some point so you could have a man. He can never be your man while your father alive. He has a chance now.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, we went back into this thing again. I'm all over the place on this one.
I never looked at it that way.
He could actually, you could become his sweetie. There have been moments you've been his sweetie, but they're very brief moments. And do you think he hasn't felt that?
I'm certain he has.
So how could he ever feel like a man when some other man has his wife?
He can't.
Well, he could. He could have broken through and said, that's your father and I'm your man, and let me show you. Let me show you the difference. But he was raised by women.
Right.
In captivity.
So you know his family then?
By the way, while we're on that topic, what are the odds of my family liking my wife?
You tell me.
In that situation, 4 women, raised 1 boy.
Who they're totally protective of and who probably lavished his ass with love. And guess what he had to do for that? Nothing. Her spoiled rotten. No wonder he's a pussy. By the way, can I thank you for your unbelievable openness? See, she keeps going here and she opens back up again. I just imagine, that's fantastic. It's beautiful. By the way, how many see the turf wars going on here between these 2 families on top of it, right?
Oh.
Each is protecting their own. His family's saying, get rid of the bitch. You deserve somebody better. Love your ass. She doesn't love you. She loves those kids. They point out to him everything he already knows and makes it more difficult because he also wants their love, which is the only love he's ever known that doesn't go away. What's really neat is, thank God you got a sister who's got a heart of gold, loves you, and is bright.
Yes, I know.
She looks at him and says, I love you too. She's more than just protective. She really wants the best for both of you. She's an amazing woman.
I know.
His family is an amazing family, but they're more about taking care of their own. She wants what's great for everybody.
Exactly.
From a needs perspective, if I asked you, where was your level of certainty, 0 to 10 in your life, you said it's a 2. What is it right now?
It's about a 7.
He hasn't said he's going to stay.
Okay, now it's back down to a 2. No.
I like your humor. How come even though you hadn't said that, you're feeling a 7?
Because this is the first time that we've actually gotten to the gut of what our issues are.
Yeah.
And so I feel more certain that now we know what the gut of the issues are. He's not going to want to leave.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful.
Now Tony will test Jen's understanding of how Paul's needs were or were not getting met. As you listen, ask yourself the level at which you have been meeting your partner's 6 human needs.
Do you know what his would be of those areas? If I asked you, how much certainty do you think he had that he could really be your man and that you would love him passionately?
Probably a 2.
And how much variety do you think he was feeling in his relationship with you? If you were to get into his head, where would you put it 0 to 10?
Probably a 2 as well.
And how significant do you think he felt he was to you?
I would say maybe like a 4.
And then how much love do you think he was feeling coming from you?
Probably a 6 or 7.
Okay. How much growth do you think he was feeling with you?
None.
And when you don't grow, you
Die.
And how much contribution do you think you felt he was giving you?
None.
And how would he feel like a man that way?
He wouldn't.
Can you see why I'd want to leave?
Yes.
It is clear that Jen now understands Paul's situation from his perspective.
And when you went home and talked to your family about all this, what did they tell you?
I didn't talk to them about the idea that I'd break up with my wife.
But what have they said about your relationship?
Oh, nothing good.
Nothing good.
Yeah, nothing good. And they thought that I could do better.
And why would they think you could do better?
Why would they think I could do better?
Why did they think you could do better?
I really can't answer that. I don't know.
Is it possible? Jen, why do you think?
One of the biggest reasons initially was because I wasn't Catholic.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, my mother's as close to a nun as you can get.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I love her dearly.
I understand that.
But
I understand. So the bottom line, she's not Catholic, so she's going to go to hell and take you with her.
you got it.
I got it.
I'm evil. Can you tell?
I sure can, honey. So where's your level of certainty now, Paul, 0 to 10, that you could make this relationship not just work, but one that you would adore and enjoy and you would not even consider something else for, and don't bullshit?
I'm not bullshitting. 8.
What could you do to help her value herself more?
Just have faith in her.
What else could you do?
Love her.
What else could you do?
Show her rather than tell her what I feel.
You don't do that a lot, do you?
Not lately.
Lately?
This is a good moment. I'm glad you did that, because this is what's going to show up later after this little honeymoon's over. She's going to test you. She like right now, her hopes are up. She's a little girl, her hopes are up. And then a part of her's going, okay, I get a feeling this thing's wrapping up. Now Tony guy's going to be gone, and we're going to be left with each other. Is he going to still be this way later on? So let me test him. So she makes a little sarcastic remark, just to see if you become a pussy and feel rejected and leave, or if you say no, or yes, or come here, my little sweet. Right? That's what she's going to look to see if you have the ability to do. Now you're new at this, so the tendency is going to be to go to, the little mama's boy.
Right.
That is the tendency. And don't think that she doesn't love you and then pull love away and go run off into some fantasy world where everything's going to be perfect and there's no pain. Because if you're going to be in a relationship, there's going to be pain. But it can be a lot less if you don't let it be painful, if you start showing up as a man. I'll tell you how to be a man. Put your fear on the shelf and love this woman with every ounce of your soul. The more she comes at you, the more it makes you laugh.
A good way to prevent Paul and Jen from falling into old ways is to predict that they will, and to provide them with alternative ways of behaving when that happens. Tony just gave Paul specific instructions on how to give Jen certainty and love.
If anyone was watching closely, that during this session she started valuing love more than certainty.
Definitely.
How many felt that? Do you feel that?
Definitely.
That is a seismic change she's already made. But she's still a girl, and here's what's going to happen. There are going to be times where nothing you do will make her happy. And she's wanting to see if you're going to run like some pussy guy like most people do. Because most guys run. They go watch TV. They go, she's unreasonable. They go read a book. They go, go get drunk. They go, work harder. Or are you going to break through? Now, here's how it works. When she goes in those modes, just set your clock and think, This is a 3-hour conversation. 3 hours. It's 3 hours. When she says nothing, think, 3 hours. And you gotta say, nothing? What is it, honey? Nothing. What, honey, what is it? I know you. Nothing. You're imagining things. Honey, I worship you. I know you better than anybody on this earth. What is it? And then be prepared to find out what it is. Okay? And then while it's happening, you gotta work, this is the hardest part, not to be hooked, because everything she says, you're gonna think is your fault, even if she's not making it your fault, and she will sometimes. Because you'll be beating yourself up, and then when you beat yourself up, you'll be angry and you'll yell at her. When you're just angry with yourself because you don't feel like you've really done a good enough job, because you didn't make her happy, you didn't anticipate or figure it out. But since emotions are faster than thought, you won't even know it. All you'll know is you're angry. And you think it'll be her, and it'll really be you.
The final step in the intervention is a ritual of commitment, which is like a renewal of the marital vows. As you listen, think to yourself, what is the most important thing that you can commit to your partner? What does he or she want more than anything else?
So now I want to know, what do you commit to this man?
Oh boy. I commit to make you know that you're number one in my life.
Now you, young man, what do you commit to this woman? And before you commit, she thought about what you really need. She didn't just commit off the top of her head. She didn't commit by thinking about what she'd be willing to give. See, remember I said when people leave a relationship, I've never met a human on earth that ever left a relationship where their partner was meeting all their needs. And you both knew you weren't meeting each other's needs. All you gotta do is, my partner, how much certainty am I giving my partner that they're the most important thing? How much variety am I giving my partner? Now, how significant are they making them feel? How much love? We always, I love them completely, but we forget about the other needs. And is it the way they receive love? We tell them they love them, but they want to look into our eyes, or they want to be touched or held, or they want to be made love to. Their way of receiving love, not your way of expressing it. How much growth am I helping to stimulate my partner? How much am I contributing in their mind to them, not my mind? And if those numbers are in the range of 6, 5, 4, you guys are friends. And if they're 3, 2, 1, you're roommates or on your way out. And if it's 8, 9, and 10, you guys have a legendary relationship and it's growing like crazy. And if all you did was check in regularly, instead of just checking with what you're not getting, what is it that she needs? And don't say it because it's smart. Say it from your heart because she'll know.
Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I promise you a strength and a love that you have never seen before.
Now we can celebrate. So beautiful. Thank you. Love you. I love both of you. I see the man in you. It's a heart-filled man. And it's a strong man. You need to separate from your mother and family, not separate, but you have to let them die so that she can become your one and only. Just like she's now you're gonna be her man. And you gotta promise to never threaten again. Or don't commit, but don't do the in-between, because she won't be able to survive that, neither will you. Give it to him, Asia.
In the midst of a powerful embrace, Tony completes the intervention by blocking once and for all Paul's threat of abandonment. The secret of a happy relationship is to know how to satisfy each other's human needs. When you satisfy any two needs of a person, you have made a connection. When you satisfy 4 of their needs, you have created a bond. If you satisfy all 6 of their needs, the person will never want to leave you. As we end this film, ask yourself, are you meeting your partner's human needs? Now, please stay tuned to see a short follow-up with Paul and Jen, as well as practical guidelines to use what you've learned now.
The decisions that we've made, and certainly I can speak for myself, I'm just so filled with happiness since I've left the Bahamas. You know, and just the ability to experience the love that was always there. I know where I was. I was completely distanced from my wife. We had a cold relationship. We both knew there was something there, and we were struggling to survive together. Is really the way it was, and it started getting lonely. I know myself. I felt empty. I'm sure Jen felt empty because I wasn't giving anything. You know, I wasn't giving anything.
And I was giving everything I had to the kids, you know, and to my family, and you know, because I wasn't getting it from him. You know, but I loved him. I knew I loved him, you know, so I was just so afraid to lose him that I just, you know, did anything I could just because I knew we had it in our hearts, you know.
So we were hanging on, is the best way to say it, is that we were hanging on. And it was physically, I started to feel so much chest pain on a daily basis. I really started to believe I was going to have a heart attack, you know, and really felt like I was going to.
I feel like every day, I
can't see anything else. If they love the person they're with and they know it in their heart, just try one more time because it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Now, do you feel, you know, now she loves the children, do you feel like you're getting less love now?
No.
What's changed in that area?
Not only am I getting more of her affection, you know, that was always there, I'm noticing it more. It was always there, but I'm noticing it more. And my kids realize that we have a different relationship.
I think it definitely feels
soft.
different for the kids. I mean, we always tried to have as much normalcy, you know, as we could in the household, you know.
So we love
but
them so
the
much.
kids I think, have noticed a huge difference, you know. I think everybody has. I think our families too.
I think one of the biggest things is that my time with my kids now is available to them because I'm not distracted about how unhappy I am in other areas of my life. I am totally present with my kids, and I'm also totally present with Jen when I'm with her. And my kids understand that too, that, you know, mom's the priority here at this time.
Yeah, it's amazing. There'll be times when, you know, he'll come in and spending some time with me, and the kids will, Daddy, 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 you know, and he said, you know what, Mommy's #1 right now, you know, Daddy's spending some time with Mommy. And that's just so, just makes me melt, you know, like, I feel like I'm #1, and that, you know, and I, you know, work, you know, at making sure he knows that he's #1 for me, you know.
And I think every day about the commitment that I made in that aisle in the Bahamas. I promise you a strength and a love that you have never seen. And I will never forget that. And I even told her today, I said, I love you so much today, and you will never lose this love. So don't worry, ever.
How does that make you feel, honey?
Unbelievable. Yeah. You know, it's like I'm crying because I just can't even, like, it's like I can't even believe it.
This is something you don't want to let go.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to let it go.
Here are some ways to apply what you've learned to your relationship now. What are your top 2 needs? Certainty, variety, significance, connection, love, growth, or contribution? Second, how do you meet your top needs? Do you satisfy them more at work, at home, with friends, with relatives, or by yourself? What has to happen for you to feel that your top needs are met? How often does it have to happen, and with whom? Are you more responsive to words, to touch, to visual cues, or gifts and gestures? What could your partner do to meet your needs better and more regularly? Have you told your partner? Take a moment to write it down. Pause the DVD if you'd like to take extra time. Third, ask yourself, at what level are you meeting your partner's 6 human needs? Write on a scale from 1 to 10. How certain is your partner that you love them? How much variety and surprise do they get from you? How significant do they feel that they are number 1 in your life? How much love and connection do they get from you on a daily basis? How much growth do they feel in your relationship? And how much do you help them to contribute? Is your partner more responsive to words, touch, visual cues, or gifts and gestures? What could you do every month, every week, every day, or several times per day for your partner? How would it feel to be completely confident that you can meet your partner's needs? If you are not sure how to meet your partner's different needs, ask them, what has to happen for you to feel this need has been met? Ask this question with respect to all 6 needs. Everyone has individual ways for meeting their needs. As their partner, your job is to know and serve them, even if their needs are difficult for you to understand. Now ask yourself, which of your top needs are being met by people outside of your intimate relationship? Are they family members, friends, colleagues, children? Are you getting more significance, love, or variety from people other than your intimate partner? Does your partner ever feel jealous or displaced by this? Or are you getting needs met by someone who is critical or judgmental of your partner? If this kind of intrusion is creating a challenge for your partner, you need to correct it. Here is your assignment. Call this other significant person, whether it is your mother, your sister, your brother, or your friend, and tell them how much you love your partner. Tell them how happy you are to be in love with them and how much they mean to you. Observe the other person's reaction as you tell them. This person needs to understand that your partner comes first and that your partner is meeting your needs. Likewise, this will help your partner feel that you are putting him or her above your other relationships. Repeat this once a week. Tony teaches that there are 3 levels of relationship. In a level 1 relationship, the partners are only concerned about getting their own needs met. This type of relationship cannot last. At level 2, the partners barter for needs. I'll give you what you want if you give me what I want. We call this horse trading. This relationship can last, but will not bring lasting intimacy. At level 3, the partners put the other's needs first. This is the only relationship where love is unconditional, and it is essential to long-lasting fulfillment. You cannot enjoy your relationship at the highest level unless both of you are at level 3, discovering how to meet each other's needs and putting each other first. If you can do this, your relationship will transform before your eyes.